Emily Perkins and John Fawcett, everybody. All right. Do you guys want to share a mic, or how do you want to do this? That's good. So we will take your questions. Is there someone? I believe there's a third microphone in the crowd roaming.
Is there?
There it is.
Okay.
Over there. Cool.
Good.
Wow.
Cool.
So
hey?
how long had it been since the two of you have seen that film front to back?
I watched it a couple of years ago because we came out on Blu-ray and we did a bunch of interviews, new interviews and stuff for it. But I don't know if you watched.
No, it was like 12 years ago.
Wow.
A long time ago.
What was that like, Emily? What went through your mind?
I think I'd kind of forgotten how funny it is. And I think it's a really funny movie. I think I remembered more like the scary part of it and all the blood and stuff. But I forgot how funny it was. It's really funny. Especially Mimi. Mimi's really funny.
My favorite funny part of it is Mimi with the bloody underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not what's in the script. Mimi was like, we shot the scene, and Mimi was like, just let me do it one more time. And I was like, okay. And she goes, and that's when she pulled down the spray and wash and did the. So that was a little Mimi flourish.
That was so good. What drew you to the role, Emily? How did you end up there?
Well, I was a women's studies student at UBC at the time, and so I really liked the the coming of age from a female perspective, because I hadn't seen a lot of films that were about adolescence and sexuality from a girl's point of view. And I love the bond between the sisters. It's a movie about friendship, but I love how it uses fantasy to sort of tell a truth that would be hard to tell with just, telling a more conventional sort of coming-of-age story,
Right.
to portray a psychological truth.
Mm-hmm. And when you were in the writing stage, John, with Karen, what were you aiming for?
What was I aiming for?
Yeah. When.
I don't know. I guess. Well, sure. Okay. What was I aiming for? I was aiming for something that was that I hadn't seen before, that sort of transcended genre, was a bit of a genre mashup, was taking a fairly well-known genre trope and trying to kind of make it into something that I hadn't, that was new and fresh. And then trying to kind of build it around these female characters who I had always kind of wanted to see but had never seen before. And working with Karen on the script, I guess in the early days, I wanted to make a transformation movie. There was a bunch of things that I had in my brain. But I liked just the story of these two sticky sort of Edward Gorey girls that lived in the suburbs, and I don't know. The more Karen and I worked on the script, the more we sort of began to draw all these comparisons and adolescence, female adolescence. Certainly Karen was invaluable because she drew a lot from her own experience. And it was just really interesting, for, kind of coming to these interesting conclusions, like just even drawing the menstrual cycles with lunar cycles. It was all these things that we kind of went. We had all these like little mini eureka moments, and we're like, I think at the end of the day, we just really wanted to build a nice. Not nice. It's because it's not really nice.
Nice.
What do I say? It's a kind of a very layered, complex horror film that was intelligent and smart and raw and visceral and didn't back down and didn't wuss out. Right? Yeah. That was really important to me.
Any questions from the audience? Come on. How about that guy right there?
How old were you when you were playing that role? Because you said you were a women's studies student, so you were older than the character, right?
Yeah, I was 22.
22. Oh my God. Okay. Hi. Where? Oh, back there.
Hey, I just had a question in regards to the werewolf aspect of this film. Did you originally write it with the rules in mind, and then you said fuck the rules, kind of to the Hollywood tropes of werewolves?
Yeah, I think because I hadn't seen at the time the only really half decent werewolf movie was American Werewolf in London, as far as I was concerned, and that one was the thing I liked about that was the sense of humor that it had. It had a good sense of humor, and I enjoyed that. But really, when I was looking at this, I was kind of going, werewolf movies are cheesy. So it was really, it was about like trying to figure out what our rules would be. So I found inspiration more in, in David Cronenberg than I found in anything else. I feel like in movies like Dead Ringers or The Fly, or even movies like Carrie. I don't know if you remember an early Peter Jackson film, Heavenly Creatures. I don't know, it's kind of many people have seen that. That was an inspiration as well. There's a bunch of things back in that era, I think, that we were thinking about. And really it was kind of like just wanting to follow certain signposts of the genre and then depart as much as we could so that we could make this our own. And I think one of the things really that was unique about it was the fact that the transformation is not. I really disliked the mythological, magical aspects of the werewolf. So I wanted to bring kind of science and biology to it. So it wasn't going to be like the moon pops out and then you run around and kill a bunch of shit and then turn back to normal. It was going to be a very slow, steady transformation that there was no return from. And that to me made more sense as a kind of a virus or as something biological that we might find in the real world. So I don't know, I just kind of hadn't seen that before, so we used some Hollywood rules just because it's a werewolf movie, and then we made up our own.
And granting that transformation in science makes it scarier to me too, because then it's not so silly, waiting for the moon to come out, etc. Okay, other questions? Maybe down here. I think you were waiting.
First off, just thanks for making the movies. They were kind of the soundtrack to my high school. So,
Nice.
And I mean, I know that it's been a long time and everything, but looking back, have you ever thought about revisiting the franchise and doing like a Ginger Snaps 4 in space, just to do the Leprechaun thing?
You want to do that? Yeah, no, we could do like a remake. It's perfectly ripe for a remake right now. Actually, Steve Hoban, who produced the 3 movies, who's a buddy of mine, he was very keen to try and get a TV series off the ground. So actually just prior to Orphan Black, which is a show that I made, I came Thanks. Oh, that's nice. Thanks. We tried to make it as a TV series, but and came very close, oddly, with not a terrific. It was really going to be very different than this because it was with the CW, and it was so it wasn't like this at all. And I was like, okay, well. But then they decided that I think that there would be a werewolf in the 2nd season of Vampire Diaries. So they were like, "No, we're not interested in Ginger Snaps," which is good. I think in the end that I didn't do a CW version of Ginger Snaps and instead made Orphan Black. So I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
That would be interesting though if it was rebooted somehow or it came out in a different version. Like Emily, would you be comfortable with watching someone else play Bridget?
Yeah, a lot more comfortable than watching myself, for sure.
Fair enough. And you guys were on CBC Radio today. I was behind the glass, so I couldn't see you. Okay. But you said something really interesting in that you mentioned Orphan Black, and you talked about how in a way, it's almost like a companion to Ginger Snaps. What did you mean by that, John?
I meant, well, you know, like I see so many things that I poached out of here and put in Orphan Black. Like, frankly, Bailey Downs and Pamela is pretty much Allison. And you know what? I think it's more about a feeling of just an ownership feeling. I don't know how to explain it. So it's really, this was my baby. This was like the baby, right? Right there. And then I don't really have that again. Like, I did a lot of work, and I shot a lot of stuff, and I shot another movie in between that you probably never saw, and did a whole shit ton of TV episodes before I came back and managed to find my own thing again. And it's very different when you're kind of doing something that that you were involved in the utter creation of, and are incredibly involved and passionate about, and then shooting somebody else's thing, right? So it's kind of, it really had that same feeling for me. And I don't know if there's similar themes, but I guess I don't know. I guess I've always thought about genre a little bit in the way of, you know, these kind of absurd premises of, like, you know, werewolves roam the planet, or of human clones roam the planet, or whatever it is, that tonally I think I see similarities to some degree as well. I've always had this strong idea of character. That character is extremely important, and you have to kind of believe, and you have to kind of, there's a kind of an emotional integrity that is important to the characters to make me believe that rubber suit lying on the ground is actually her sister. And so when I see, although mind you it was fairly dark in this print, or whatever you see tears sort of like streaming down Bridget's face at the end, and she is so into that moment, it doesn't matter that that's rubber suit lying on the ground at all, you know? And that's kind of, I think that's incredibly important. I also think with stuff like this, it's really, for me, I really want to be able to laugh. I really do, because I think people take themselves way too seriously mostly. And I think if you can laugh at this stuff, I think it makes it easier for me to swallow the absolutely stupid premise. Don't you think? Do you get kind of where I'm coming from? So I think you buy the characters, you have some laughs, and you kind of go with the guy in the rubber suit. I don't know. That's my sense of it all.
Any other questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Is our microphone around? Oh, maybe we should go here first.
Okay.
Here, I'll run my microphone.
Okay. But we'll go here, yeah.
Hello.
Hi there. So my question is for Emily. It's a two-part question. The first is, how do you feel about the relationship between Ginger and Bridget, and how core it is to the first movie? And how do you feel that Bridget's character developed in the second movie?
Good one.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the second one, she has to figure out how to live on her own without, because the whole childhood obviously was with her sister, and she's so dependent on her sister, and they've created this like isolated little world to defend against the horrors of society. So yeah, but I think Bridget realizes in the second one that she can't really make it on her own, so she's sort of, but it's not like a conscious thing, so Ghost just sort of comes along and attaches herself to Bridget, and Bridget begrudgingly accepts her presence, because I think on some level she realizes that she just can't do it alone. So yeah, that's what I think her psychological reality is.
Yeah.
Emily, what else have you done since these movies?
I did some teen comedies, another Cinderella story, and She's the Man, and I was on Da Vinci's Inquest for quite a few seasons, and what else? Just like episodes of Supernatural. What else? Can't really think of the other stuff.
Do people recognize you as Bridget when you're out and about?
Yeah, sometimes people do. It always really surprises me, but yeah, it's great. It's a good feeling.
You look exactly the same. That's why. That's why people recognize. She not. I know. We could literally go and shoot the remake with her, and she could play 16.
Yeah.
I was so gaunt then.
All right. Next.
Where did you guys come up for the werewolf-like shape and costume?
Where did we come up with it?
Like the last scene, werewolf.
The final look.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of just we just spent a lot of time designing, and it was all about like most of it was about what we don't want, like what we don't like, what we don't want. And I think in the end, I like the idea of it being a little bit more hellhound than werewolf. I was trying to kind of stay away from a lot of fur. You know, I don't know. I was just there was a lot of things about werewolf that kind of made me go, I don't want to do that. Like that's all this stuff. That's what I would want to not do. You know, it's tough. I mean, I watch it and I go, good. You know, it's a whole bunch of like, you know, makeup effects, and this was made at the time when things were kind of like sort of in between makeup effects and visual effects, and I kind of knew we couldn't really afford good visual effects, and we kind of couldn't really clearly afford really great makeup effects either. But we went with makeup effects, and I don't know. I was just my whole thing was always, I want to make it different than what I've seen before. That was just the total mandate. Make it more aggressive, make it more in your face, make it be absolutely something, a monster, a werewolf, this mythology that was completely unique. And so that was the whole, anytime we were designing anything, any step of the way, it was all about, have I seen this before? Yeah.
Next.
Oh, hey, hi. I see you.
I don't need a mic there, Brad.
I can hear you.
The father of the girls
Yes.
really reminded me of a character in an old 60s TV show, Bewitched.
Okay.
The husband of the crazy neighbor, Mrs. Kravitz.
Okay.
But he's certainly in this movie, certainly almost like a non-character. He has almost a non-relationship with his daughters and his wife. Why did you write him that way?
I think this was just a very, I don't know if this was like maybe Karen Walton's kind of, you know, theory of the world, but you know what, to me it was, I liked it because it was a very female-centric story, and I think this was a kind of like the men are clueless a little bit. Although, you know, and it's actually kind of fun to watch Pamela, who you think is clueless, who's totally kooky, clue in pretty strongly by the end. That's a kind of a fun turn, but I'm not sure. I think it was just because it was a movie about women, really, at the end of the day.
Hi. At the moment where she was fumbling with the Tupperware, putting away the fingers.
Yeah, when she
I
burps the Tupperware.
Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, me too.
And then when she huffed and landed on the fridge, in the development of the script, was there like at any point a plan of there being like a red herring where the mother was somehow involved with them being werewolves?
There was a whole other scene that was shot to my recollection, at the greenhouse. That was not the end of Pamela. There was another scene, and it had something to do with police arriving and Pam freaking out. I think the police come to the listen, it's been a while. I think the police come to the party, and Pam heroically distracts the police by doing something crazy and getting herself arrested so that Bridget and Ginger can get away from the party. pretty sure I shot something like that, and I don't think it was very good, so I took it out of the movie. Well, was there? No, it's kind of in there. She talks about lighting a match and letting the house fill with gas, and it's gonna be just gonna be just us girls, and it's gonna be great. We'll start over, just us. You may have created that. It's in what?
It's implied. Yeah.
I think that's implied, but there could possibly have been more to that little monologue, that speech of Mimi's that we might have shrunk a little bit at some point, but that never would have seen the light of day. So I don't know, unless you read it in a draft of the script that because there are things that if you had an original draft of the script, there's a lot of stuff that came out because I was just trying to make the movie a tolerable length.
I'm good? Yeah. Okay. So on a production side of things, how do you go from a screenplay, then being able to, I guess, like, drop that onto some studio to say, I want to make this, and, like, what was that like to be able to go from script writing to getting it made? Because I saw Lionsgate in there as well, and stuff like that. Like, how do you approach these people and get that done?
Okay, so this is about getting it made. Well, it was at the time I had already shot a feature film. Fortunately, I made a little movie for like $1 million, and I don't know, people sort of thought it was reasonably competent, called Boys Club, and then we went and just we got the money through Telefilm and the Ontario tax credit. I think there was this, that kind of thing. So it's really pretty basic way you get get money for a Canadian movie, right? Yeah. And then we shot it, and the thing about releasing it was interesting because I the whole time believed that I had the next Harry Potter. I was like, people are going to go crazy for this. They're going to love this. This is so original, and of course people didn't go for it at all. It kind of like just got, our Canadian distributor put it out at the beginning of May, and then it was like trounced by The Mummy Returns like the next weekend and gone. And that was the end of it. Like literally, that was the end of it. That was the end of my little dream. It was over. And in the United States, straight to video. And so that was sad. It was like I was like kind of like. It was not a nice feeling, and I've had that feeling since then quite often. That thing where you go, I have the most genius thing, and then nobody sees it. So this was one of those situations, and that's the Canadian film industry for you right there.
Happy National Canadian Film Day, everybody.
And but and the cool, maybe you read this because I didn't interest, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. But the really cool part of that story is that because it got shown in TIFF, there was a New York. Did you guys read this? No, you didn't read this. Okay, I'll tell the little story. I'll tell it quick. There was a rep theater in New York. Guy calls me. He goes, I saw your film at TIFF, the Toronto Film Festival. I really think it's cool. Can I get a print and show it? Who's your American distributor? And I said, dude, you're talking to him, right? There is nobody. If you want a print, I'm the only one who's got one. I'll tell you what, I'll send it to you. You pay for the courier, and that's it. Just let me know how it goes. He wanted to show it before Halloween. And I said, I just like it to get seen. That's it, because no one saw it. And then I just kind of forgot about it, and my agent ended up calling me sometime in October of whatever year it was, and said, "Oh my God, you got to see the front page of the entertainment section of the New York Times." And it was this unbelievable, unbelievable article that review that had been written, and it was an amazing thing to read. And literally by the end of that week, we had sold it to HBO, and HBO played the shit out of it, right? And that's how it kind of. That's probably how a lot of people saw it. Like, way more people saw it on HBO than would have ever seen it in the movie theater to begin with. And it sort of raised the profile of the movie that way. And so HBO kind of turned this into a cult hit, I think. Yeah.
And here we are, 16 years later.
Yeah, so that was a long story. But
Full
that's
theater
the
full of
story.
people. But what's it? I mean, you've had a couple years to think about this, I guess, the both of you. But have you been able to really wrap your heads around the fact that, I mean, this movie may have done poorly when it first came out in theaters, but people just love it still to this day, right?
It's really nice because, like, for me, like, I really could relate to Bridget. I felt really lonely as a teenager. And so then I feel, it just makes me feel really connected to all the, the fans who say, I really responded to the character, because that's what my high school experience was like. And yeah, it's just really a great feeling to think that those connections are still being made, because people are still watching and, yeah, relating to it. It's great.
So, gotta ask you again then. Doing another Ginger Snaps movie. Like, really, how far out of the realm of possibility is it? You know there's an audience for it.
I don't know. Yeah, I suppose there might be an audience for it. I think I'd probably have to make it a little less. I feel like I'd have to tone this down just a little bit, though. A little bit, like just a tiny. Well, I'd like a few more people to see it than saw, Maybe just a little bit. I don't know. It's like I watch this and I go, wow, how many times can you say fuck in one movie? It was a lot, actually. As it turns out, you can say it a lot. Yeah.
I think there's a question back here.
Sure.
I've got two for you. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. Say what you want.
Sure. So the first one is obviously a big part of, I guess, the notability of this movie is the fact that it comes from a women's perspective. And I guess what I was wondering is, how deliberate was that from the get-go? Like, did you start out saying, I wanted to make a horror movie from that perspective, or did that kind of develop as you're going along?
For me, it was, my first feature film was a film called The Boys Club, which was very much a kind of sort of coming-of-age movie from a male point of view, and younger characters, so it was more like 14-year-old boys. And I don't know, I was just maybe stuck in just teen weirdness, and I guess I just kind of thought it would be fun to, rather than, honestly, it was just as simple as this. It was like, why don't I just, let's do girls, just because it's, hey, who doesn't like girls? And honestly, it wasn't more complicated than that to begin with. It was like, I just didn't feel like I'd seen it. I was like, why doesn't anyone make, why are all the girls in like horror films, they just run and scream and like act like idiots? Like, why can't there be kick-ass female characters in a movie? And why don't I, because I'm a guy, you go like, let's do a kind of movie that is about is a kind of coming of age movie as well, and uses this as a metaphor for adolescence. I just kind of thought it was cool. I don't know. And that I hadn't seen it before.
Cool. Thank you. The other one was, I was actually pretty young when this movie came out, enough that I don't think I saw it until it probably was on HBO later, like you mentioned. But I do remember that, although I didn't see it when it first came out, that there was some controversy about it at the time that it came out. What was it like dealing with that? Did you see much of that out here in Canada? Or I know it was kind of more in the States that a lot of that controversy happened.
There was controversy around it, and it wasn't about when it came out. It was when we were trying to get it made. and we were trying to get it made the same year that Columbine happened. And we had a script in which, on a very, very surface level, if you just looked at it and went, oh my God, this is just a gore fest. This is kids killing kids. And it was people that really clearly didn't know how to read a screenplay and couldn't see the deeper thing that we were trying to do with it. Because to me, this was a very, very layered thing. I wasn't trying to make exploitation. Yeah, I like blood just as much as anyone else. We were trying to make it something a lot deeper than that. And it was a bit dismaying because we had an out-and-out, when we were trying to cast the film in Toronto, trying to find a casting director, we had passed the script out and had a number of the casting community of Toronto, in all their wisdom, had decided to boycott this movie because they deemed that it was kids killing kids, which is outrageous to me, frankly, considering this absolute crap that gets made, that they could say that, or even you just kind of go, you're not smart enough to make that decision for us. But it made headlines. It made it became such a thing that it became an article in the Globe and Mail, and it caused us endless problems getting the movie made, just in general. But we persevered and did our thing, and I don't know, we got through it.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll go here. He's got the mic, so then we'll go here next then.
Thanks for coming out, guys. I'm glad you mentioned Peter Jackson. That syringe scene with the kid in the park reminded me of early Peter Jackson, Brain
Yes.
Dead and Dead Alive.
It's definitely a nod to Peter Jackson.
Yeah. Just with the lack of initial success, when did talk of the sequel come along? Was it the DVD, like it really took off, and then you decided to talk about a sequel?
It was, we shot the sequels we started talking about the sequels probably in early 2002. I think this might have been released sort of in that same, it was right, when HBO picked it up, that's when everyone got excited about it again. And then Lionsgate came to us and said, would you be interested in sequels? We'll give you $12 million. Can you make 2? And it was, I didn't really want to direct a sequel. I didn't really feel like, my initial thing was, I don't really know that I have a story for this. But then they were like, here, take our money. And so I said, great. But the whole thing about making sequels to me was, as long as we're not redoing this, I don't want to redo this. I don't want to go out and make some empty thing that's just basically this, but changed a little bit and they had to kind of stand on their own and be unique on their own, and that's what was really important to me. So I didn't want to direct, but my thing was, okay, so it's a challenge then. You go, okay, what can I do here that we haven't done yet, and how can I make each of these movies be their own thing and be unique and stand on, not, use the characters, but be cool and be as unique as this. So I just worked on scripts. That was my biggest contribution to the sequel. I worked on with the writer of the second script and then the writer of the third script, who's right there. I see you. Stephen Massicott wrote Ginger Snaps 3, and then wrote my feature film for me after that, The Dark, which is the one that no one really saw. Which is great, by the way, Stephen. I still have fond memories of that. What was I saying? So did I answer your question at all? I just got off on a tangent there, sorry. It was about what? The money? Right. Well, anyway, so we went and made them in 2003, and shot them in Edmonton, and and then and it was cold because it was January. It was January, February, March. We shot 2 movies, and then we shot one, and then we took a break, and then we brought the crew back together, and we did the next one. And that one was, of course, like very different than the second one. It was kind of like a weird, suddenly in the early 1800s remake. It was like Ginger Snaps The Revenant. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, and I thought no one will see this coming. I thought it was so clever. I still think it is, actually. When Ginger and Bridget come riding in on a horse, I think you get like, what's going on?
I love it. What was your favorite one to shoot, Emily, out of the 3?
Well, the first one, because it was a unique experience, and then the second one, I really liked doing all the transformation makeup and stuff. That was really fun. Yeah, just transforming into a monster, and yeah, that was a really great experience.
Yeah. All right.
My question is for Emily. When I first saw this movie, I was 12 years old, and my parents had never even let me watch The Simpsons. And I went to a Halloween party, and we rented 3 movies, and everyone had passed out, and I was watching it by myself. And I just remember being so horrified and just thinking it was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen at the same time. And I was wondering if there's any scenes that you were filming that you found particularly horrific to be doing, like maybe scooping goop off the floor, or like what was the hardest thing for you to film?
Well, a lot of it was like when we did the first attack scene when we were in the woods, like where the playground is, and Ginger first gets attacked. That was like the middle of the night, I think we were filming that stuff. So I like really started to feel kind of scared. Like I was kind of just, it's the middle of the night, no one's really paying attention, so you're just kind of like wandering around in the woods, and you feel really disoriented. And so, yeah, that's when I sort of really got into Bridget's space, and that was, yeah. But the other stuff is kind of fun, like when you're eating the blood and stuff, because they flavor it, and like when you throw up, you get like a choice of what kind of soup you want.
What flavor?
Do you want the chicken noodle or the lobster bisque?
What flavor was the blood?
I think it was like chicken vegetable.
That's
like,
so gross.
Had lots of chunks in it.
I'm more grossed out now knowing that than I was before. But thank you.
Is anyone else lined up for questions? There we go.
Hey, so from a script writing perspective, or while you're developing the movie, did you develop the movie with budget limitations in mind, or did that come later? Like you wrote the script not thinking about how much you'd have to pay or how hard it would be for special effects, and then figured that out at that stage? Or did you have that in mind from the get-go?
I always have a hard time trying to limit myself in thinking about money or thinking about how I'm going to do something. And I'm, even to this day, I have a really difficult, and I don't like to do that to myself. I guess you have to kind of like keep it somehow in the confines of some sort of reality. But I think it was more, my theory was write it first, get it good, and then figure out how to make it, and it's funny because usually from a writing point of view, it's very different than than a directing point of view. I'm in a very different, using a very different part of my brain for when I'm writing or when I'm talking about story and characters, and it's really about it's more precise and it's more about an emotional journey, and it's less. Honestly, I don't. People go, so who's going to be in the movie? What's this going to look like? And they ask me this stuff when we're in a writing process, and I honestly don't know, because I don't want to sit and try and visualize it at that point. I want to work on the characters. I want to work on, there may be some specific visuals that I have in my head, but it's really about the emotional journey of the characters and thinking about, you know, unique storylines and concepts and stuff like that, and then I come at it with a director hat on after and go, what the hell was I thinking? Like, how am I going to do this? I can't make this. Or you have a producer going, dude, like, we don't have the money to do that. Like, and then it becomes different. Then it's about, okay, so here's what we intend with the script. So how can I kind of translate that in a way that we can afford and that I can, that we have the time to actually pull off? Because a lot of this is about, Ginger Snaps was shot in 30 days for $5 million. And,
Wow.
and you know, we shot long hours, there's no question about it. A bunch of my own money went into the movie because we just went over budget. So I didn't make a lot of money making the movie. But it's very, to me, it's writing and directing are very different. And to be honest, I'm not the writer of this. Karen is, you know. I'm kind of like very involved with the writing, but I got scared off writing when I realized that a lot of my friends could write way better than I could. So I was like, I think I'm just going to collaborate with writers and work with them. And, you know, writers are my favorite kind of people. Yeah. I don't know. Are you good?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I got some good ideas.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I have a question for both of you. For Emily, I was just wondering, like, I like to perform as well, and I remember a couple years ago I was in a play and there was just one line I just couldn't hit no matter what. And watching yourself tonight, was there anything tonight that just like stuck out where you're like, I fucking hate that line, or I just couldn't do it, or you just really bugs you?
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
How can I choose just one? I don't know.
I thought you were great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
How about,
like you just.
I really like cum buckety date bait.
Yeah, that was a good one to deliver. That was a fun one.
You can't mess that line up.
No. I don't know. I don't know. I like whenever I'm working, I just have to tell myself that I'll never have to watch it. Like I promise myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to perform at all. Because I don't. I find it really hard to watch because you just see through your performance. So it's difficult to like gauge. Like, is that convincing anyone? It's because obviously you know it's not you, and the characters, like, though I was like very lonely and I relate to Bridget in some ways, I was really a people pleaser, so I didn't have her demeanor or anything, so it's really a performance. So yeah, I don't know, it all feels really like inauthentic in that sense.
Well, given that 16 years have passed since this movie, was it easier or more difficult to watch your own performance?
Yeah, I guess it gets easier for sure. Yeah, it's like different person, different lifetime.
Cool. Yeah, well, this was my first time watching it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and yeah, it's funny. I couldn't tell anything. I really enjoyed your performance.
Thanks.
Yeah. And for John, you referred to this as your baby. I was wondering if you have another baby in the pipeline, and maybe you can give us a teaser about it.
I'm in the middle of that one. That one's called Orphan Black. Yeah, that one's right at the beginning of airing season 4. Yeah, on Thursday
cool.
night at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, episode 2.
Yeah. I'll give it a shot. What channel?
Space.
Space.
Or CTV? Is it Space? Space. Here, Space. But you might want to not sort of watch tomorrow. You might want to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It's a little complicated, and you might want to just start at season 1, episode 1, and go from there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Is
don't try and bomb in the middle, or you'll hate your life.
Okay. Are the seasons on any websites? Or?
Space, maybe. Yeah,
Space,
Space. I don't know.
iTunes.
iTunes. You can definitely get it on iTunes. I would not advocate ripping it. I think you all should pay for it.
That's right.
It helps. Just kidding.
Well,
I know half of you are ripping it, okay?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, like I'm like Ginger Snaps. You're working on something right now where you already know there's so much critical success around it, and you know that so many people love Orphan Black. Does that make it any more difficult to work on it when you know that so many people are invested?
Yes. I mean, you get people, when people love things and they're very attached to characters, you hear about it when you do things to characters that they don't like. Let's put it that way. Listen, I don't know, we've been on a big journey with that show, and it's really remarkable how big it blew up and how much it took off. The same as this. Even now, I mean, coming into, I actually was surprised that like a lot of people showed up for Ginger Snap. I wasn't kidding. Like, I go, wow, it's so wild that this still has legs and people really feel strongly enough about it to show up on at a movie theater and watch it. And I guess I feel the same about Orphan Black. But I think the important thing for me in working is just you just try to not listen to the hype, and you just do what seems to make sense to you emotionally, and what makes sense to me might not make complete sense to you, or sometimes I hope that like what I like you like, and you just kind of try and. Sometimes you got to plug your ears a little bit to either the criticism or to the fans. You kind of got to go, okay, I just gotta put my head down and do the thing, right? And do the thing and do the thing, and then go, here, what do you think?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's, otherwise you can get kind of mired in just stuff and not produce anything, or not produce anything good, or just listen to too many voices, either in your head or out there, right?
There.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anyone else, you guys? What do you think?
Well, I met Tat casting her in Ginger Snaps 2. That's how I met her. She was 17, and she didn't look a day over 13. Seriously, did you? So you said people saw Ginger Snaps 2. You saw it. Tap Maslany is in Ginger Snaps 2, and she plays a weird, crazy character. When we were casting that came down to Ellen Page or Tatiana Maslany, and I cast Tatiana, and I thought she was great. Like, I just thought she was an incredibly gifted young actress who was playing this crazy, ludicrous character, this insane character that was like sort of ADD and kind of psychotic, and I had this vision of this character that I wanted her to play, and she did it so well. And I just knew she was. After that, I knew she was an actor who had a lot of talent, and we would run into each other once in a while. And she had moved to Toronto, so I was seeing, and I think where she would rent videos was where I would rent videos, so I'd bump into her every once in a while. And I think when we were casting Orphan Black, I think we kind of knew that she would be a front runner, and she came in, and of course, she showed up at her final callback with all the networks and stuff. She showed up on rollerblades. Showed up on rollerblades and then proceeded to absolutely dominate and killed everyone else, and there wasn't a choice. So it was kind of cool. Like, I feel like, with Emily and with Tatiana, and like the way I like to cast, I feel like I made some right choices, at least. I feel like that's a part of, that's obviously something that I look back and I go, I'm pretty good at casting. So I'm proud of that.
Anyone else? Guess that's that. Is that that? Any
that
final
that?
final thoughts, you guys?
No, just I appreciate you guys a lot, and I appreciate you coming out, and it's been really a cool experience. I think watching this again and watching it with fans, which is really really cool, and in my hometown, Calgary.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's great.
John Fawcett, Emily Perkins, Ginger Snaps.